You are now entering the horror section.
Hello, and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John, Kelan, and TJ, and we are live at Frankencon 2025 here in Knoxville. And man, it's been a blast. Corey, Matt, Richard, they really know how to throw a party. Some of the guests are a little suspect, as you can see on your screen now, but we appreciate them having us and letting us set up shop and record. So here we are. And this week we're going to be chatting about one of John's favorite movies, 1985's Fright Night, directed by Tom Holland.
Fright Night, 1985. The story of Fright Night is about a kid named Charlie Brewster, and he's your average teenager. He's got a girlfriend named Amy. He goes to school. He's got a weird friend named Evil Ed. And unfortunately for Charlie, a vampire moves next door in the name of Jerry Dandridge. So this film is basically about Charlie discovering Jerry Dandridge living next door, trying to figure out what he is, who he is, and then when he figures out he's actually a vampire, trying to stop him. And what's so cool about this story is that most of the movie, until the very end, is really the story of Charlie and Jerry. Basically, you have this thing where Charlie and Jerry are playing this cat and mouse game throughout the entire movie. They both know, each other knows what's going on, but everyone around them does not know what's going on. It's a very interesting dynamic with the writing, and I've seen this movie tons of times. I mean, spoiler, I love this movie. Nostalgia, I can't separate nostalgia, but it's interesting to see the writing in this film because there's so many scenes with them in the film, and when they're talking to each other, they're having a conversation with each other while everyone else is having another conversation, but they don't know the real conversation happening. I think that's so fascinating. You have two characters speaking in code, and only two of them know what's happening. And it's not till the end that when shit really hits the fan that everybody knows what the hell's going on. And then, of course, it's too late, right? So I found that something interesting about the movie, rewatching it, that I didn't notice the first time. Everything about this movie is great. It looks like a lot of it is shot on a backlot, maybe like Universal, perhaps. The streets look like a Universal backlot.
It is. I actually thought it was the same set as The Burbs. So I looked it up. It's not, but it's definitely on a lot.
Yeah. The opening credits, I love them, like with the blood coming down. You're introduced basically to Charlie and Amy. Charlie wants to have sex with his girlfriend. Amy's kind of reluctant to. And then Charlie notices Jerry moving in next door. He's watching his favorite show, which is a horror host show with a character named Peter Vincent. And of course, Peter Vincent is like an homage to Vincent Price, Peter Cushing. It's like all these characters from Hammer films and all these old horror films kind of mixed in. And it's a really interesting film to go back because not only the makeup, the music, the effects, but the writing is really, really well done in this movie. And, you know, there are things you can pick apart at it. I think there are some quirky things with it, but I think overall, end to end, it kind of encapsulates so much about what the 80s was with horror movies, vampire films, because it's a little bit of comedy, it's a little bit of horror. It's kind of, for me, it's everything I want in a horror film. When I think of Fright Night, it's like a complete package. I would say it ranks, for me, higher than like Lost Boys, any of that. Just some things I noticed though rewatching it, which is kind of interesting. I noticed like the very beginning when he's watching the Peter Vincent movie on TV. Peter Vincent's like about to kill a vampire, and he's got the stake backwards, like he's holding the point towards him, which is kind of like a play on it. He just doesn't, he was phoning it in a lot of his roles. The music's great. It's a lot of tones. It's like Brad Fiddle, so it's a lot of Terminator style music. Very creepy, eerie tones and synth. And the soundtrack's great too. It's a lot of 80s. If you like 80s like dance music, there's a lot of it. There's a dance scene in the movie. I thought it was really cool that Charlie was never afraid in the movie. I thought that was interesting in that he got so many opportunities to not notice Jerry, to not pay attention to Jerry, to walk away. He says, fuck that. He goes right after him. Even in there's a scene where Jerry confronts him in his bedroom is basically like, you forget about me, I'll forget about you. And Charlie still pulls out across. I think that's like so awesome that like, yeah, this basically was a 17-year-old kid and he's just fearless. He doesn't care. He's like, I've got to stop this guy.
It's almost like he's completely driven by adrenaline through like the entire film. Like he's so scared, like it's just overpowering everything else. The adrenaline's just kicking in. He's like, I'm gonna whoop this guy's ass no matter what.
Oh yeah, it's like it's not. It's one of those things they could have easily written him to be a wimp and kind of be a scary cat, but he goes full force into it. And you know, I think Chris Sarandon is, to me, he's probably. I don't want to say he like the best vampire ever, but he's definitely top for me because he's so manipulative. He's yeah, he's seductive. He's creepy. He just got this presence about him. He can draw people in. He manipulates Evil Ed into joining him. He manipulates Charlie's girlfriend, which it's funny. The thing with Amy is that's the one part of the movie. Rewatching it's kind of funny is you see Amy when she's around Jerry. She starts to get entranced and pulled in by him, and I guess it's like a vampire power. But there's a scene in the nightclub when they're dancing, and her hair starts like poofing out, and she's like dancing, and she's looking at the mirror, and he's not there. I thought that was kind of funny that her hair was changing. It's like the sexual energy caused her hair to come out or something. She's being right?
Somehow in the next scene, like she has twice as long hair.
I'll say that was really good foreshadowing to show the pain briefly
Yeah.
of his lost love. And
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we know where this is.
Yeah.
That was a great way to just subtly foreshadow.
Well,
Then point in, just show the
Well,
thing and then move on.
what's
Exactly.
interesting that everybody thinks that Bram Stoker's Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola 92 movie was the first movie to do that idea of the love story and the reincarnated love, but actually it was a Tony Curtis. It was a made-for-TV movie. Dan Curtis
Okay.
did one with Jack Palance.
Oh, I didn't. Huh.
And that was the
Didn't know
first
that.
one that had that old reincarnated love.
Good old Curly.
You know, kind of felt watching it now. It did feel a little creepy in a way because you have this. Obviously, he's an ageless vampire, but then you have this Amy who's is she 18? Is she 17? There is a certain creepiness about that part of it, where even though it's like a reincarnation of his long lost love, you're like, that's kind of creepy pedophile, right? I never thought about that as a kid.
It was a different time then, right?
Like 400. Wait.
I did really like that Peter. The thing I really liked too was that Peter Vincent got to be what he is on TV. Like he really got to live that. He was a phony actor who was a vampire hunter, and he thought he was a phony. And then at the end, he steps up and he actually is that guy. And I thought that was such a cool way to write that character of him actually getting to fulfill that destiny of what he's always portrayed on TV.
And he took a couple tries because he was a scaredy cat.
Oh yeah.
And then he had to really step into it when the chips were down.
But that was kind of an homage to Peter Cushing, wasn't it?
It's totally
Yeah.
Peter Cushing's.
The only thing that's really like disturbing in that to me is the very end. There's the end transformation where Ed and Peter are fighting, and Peter Vincent stabs Evil Ed in the with a stake in the heart when he's in a wolf form, and Ed's transforming back to human, and that's pretty creepy because it's like he's transforming, he's crying, it's very raw, and I was surprised to see that in this movie. But overall, I love it. I think it's not flawless, but for the time, it's brilliant, and it's so hard to rewatch this with fresh eyes. I did notice things, but I don't know. I'm very curious to see what Kelan thinks. 'Cause I wish I could watch this with fresh eyes to see, and not just being clouded by my love, you know. So
Well, if you're throwing Kelan, maybe we'll just switch it up and just go straight to Kelan.
Rip that Band-Aid off real quick.
Okay, so 83% critic score, 70% audience score on the and I'm right there with it. So I'll do my part that I normally do, where I shit on the classics. That's my stick. But keep all of that in mind when I say I do enjoy this film. I've seen it twice now. John's recommendation. Let's start off with Prince Humperdinck. Boy, he has a hard time stealing other people's lines, doesn't he?
it does.
Yeah. On the dating site or something. I also like the little line it's nice to know that milk white women haven't changed much since the 80s, because when he's going to live in housekeeper, he's probably gay.
Yeah.
Decades over there. What teenage boy would turn down sex with his girlfriend because some movers are bringing a coffin in someone's house? Like, she's in the bed shirtless, and he's peeking out the window, and she's like, I'm ready. At that point, brain shuts off. I don't care if 40 Dracula's are moving in and they're murdering people outside the window. We're going to take our business first. Because he's what? 17, going to be close to 18. He's obviously been unrealistic thing in this movie.
Yeah.
This is a movie about him.
Right.
He's obviously been through that because he's like, we've been dating for a year. In the grand scheme of things, a long amount of time, but when we were at that age and we've been trying. So 7 of your life. The fact that she was like, I'm ready. And he's like, oh, hold on. I think we've got Dracula's.
Priorities.
Right.
And the part that didn't track. He wants to be left alone, right? Jerry Dandridge moves into a suburb. If you're trying to be under the radar, why would you move into a house 11 feet from your neighbor and try to bring in a coffin at night? And then on top of that, when we get to the nightclub scene when they're dancing, he establishes in that scene that he can overpower anybody in his human form.
Mm-hmm.
When Charlie tries to punch him, he just grabs his fist and kicks him to the ground. Why did he need to expose himself in that moment when the black guy comes up and like, full on Dracula eyes and razor sharp paws and causes a scene? So if he's trying to be like under the radar, he could have literally just knocked that guy out with one punch, looking like a normal dude. I don't know why he exposes himself.
It
in
could
that
be a
moment.
power dynamic thing.
Is it like
Ego too.
Yeah.
He's just terrified. So that kind of goes out the window for me, especially like you said, it is kind of cat and mouse for most of the movie. Between Charlie and Derek and Sherry.
If you could get your eyes red and then like have 6 inches longer fingers, you wouldn't do that just as a party trick?
Not if I was trying not to get staked in the heart. And if there was somebody that was trying, I'm trying to convince everybody that there's a Dracula next door. Yeah, fair.
Right.
You're Dracula right here.
In a club with security cameras. You know,
Right.
I guess he wouldn't pick it up on security. That's
true. He would be.
scratch that.
And since we're in the foothills of smoke at Frankencon 2025, when did Dracula start transitioning to Wolfman?
Oh, that's
When
all.
did that
It's been a while.
They never established that in any other Dracula movie.
Yeah, they
and in
did.
this one,
Into Frank Langella.
We do.
nobody cares about it.
We have audience
We have an
participation.
actual vampire in the audience. Yeah.
In 1931, the
Your noob is showing.
they said there
Your noob is showing.
They didn't show it because they didn't budget for it.
So they just
Right.
implied that he
No, they didn't imply it. They outright said that John Harper goes out on the lawn. And
I just saw a wolf.
Right, he said, look at that. It looks like there's a huge dog running across the lawn.
So why?
Yeah, like Nosferatu, what you watched.
Why? So at what point do we blur the line between Wolf and Dracula? Because now we've got Draculas that can turn into bats and wolf, and then we have Wolfmen. So
The
at what
lords
point-
have always been intertwined.
it's so dumb. It's two separate things. You have this
Explaining
Wolfman-
You're insulting him. You're insulting him.
Hey, that's vampirism. Hey, that's vampirism. Yeah.
Theseus.
Yeah.
The Chinese maybe, and now the Draculas.
There's a lot of human supremacy in this room.
Yeah. Right.
I just don't get it.
Why don't you come up here and why somebody to sue Kelan on vampire?
Does that microphone still work?
Probably have it for now.
Yeah, just grab it.
And turn into a wolf.
Yeah.
And does that mean like all?
Give it a-
And they just decide not to
I'll
turn
read
into
it through
Dracula?
here.
Yeah, those of you who don't know, Count Drahoon is in the house.
Yeah. Count Drahoon.
Sorry to ruin the party, folks.
It was my speech.
Oh, here, let me grab a chair.
Here, take this.
Are you sure? Okay, thank you. You're a real mince, Jay.
Count Drahoon has joined the second.
To defend his honor.
Honor as a gentleman of empire.
No, wolf.
that TikTok video. Why were we so obsessed with green goo in the 80s? That is weird. Like every
It's like the tucks it away stuff. Like there was such an obsession with
yeah,
it.
when the house boy or whatever you want to call him, when he
The Squire.
Was he in school?
stayed,
I don't know what he
he was
was.
springing.
Okay.
The familiar. Was he familiar?
That's what I was thinking. It was weird. Yeah.
Sheldon, I think that the implication is that, sorry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Familiar, whatever you want to call it.
in order, so a lot of times, and you see this more in Dracula, you basically get a henchman on payroll with the whole, like, I'll give you eternal life, but it doesn't always equate with I'll turn you into a vampire. It's usually something else. So, like, with Dracula, you see Renfield, it's like, well, you know, Renfield is like this, he's in this
like
weird,
vampire life.
yeah, he's like in this weird manic, like, he's kind of a vampire, but not really.
It's like purgatory.
Bugs is the way of like rats, and in the book he actually ate rats.
Okay.
So it's I think it's something like that, where it's
So
like
it becomes
he's,
an out.
yeah, it's like he's not a vampire. Okay, now it's like I see Bela Lugosi and I'm like, what? You got the dance?
What I'm saying is this guy's like Florida man, right? He's got Florida man as his butler. That's why he's got all these goo.
Yeah.
Dracula on Bass.
I really did like that. That is one of my favorite things. Like, this movie does a phenomenal job of really modernizing vampires, but it does it in such a way because it's like the servant and the master dynamic. You really don't know that the master and servant. You have to kind of peek beneath the veneer because on the surface you can't tell if they're friends, if he's like a handyman or something like that. So I thought that just that little subtlety was played better.
Yeah, it's almost like he's an alibi. So like during the day he can answer the door and speak, buy the groceries and such.
Does so well. The scene where they're trying to expose him, and he goes to hand him the cross, and you see his familiar, whatever you want to call him, start to step up because he realizes can't do that, and then of course
You have to have faith, Mr.
But he
Vincent.
actually didn't. And Mr. Vincent stepped in, he like, stop it. Yeah. But well, I thoroughly, like I said, I've seen it twice now. I'll watch it again for this. And John's right. It hits all the right notes and 84. It's longer than I thought it was. It's not to me. But it fills the space. When I was watching it for the second time, I was thinking of the whole Peter Vincent part. In my mind, I was like, was that really necessary? And then I would watch it, like, it adds a fun twist to that there's this guy who's been a career on being a vampire hunter, and then, like I said, he gets the chance to actually live his career in real life.
And then it becomes like a weird buddy cop.
Yeah, and they show, like, I thought it was interesting too, that all these movie tropes that we've always talked about were real, you know, the cost, stake, not having a reflection, all that stuff. It did weird me out that Gary ate the apple straight from the core. It's obviously psychotic, right? Like anybody who eats an apple and just keep going straight through.
You know why
They
I
don't
said
put
the
their way around.
apple was because he wanted to show that he was a descendant in that.
I didn't know that.
I like that.
So that's the actual choice.
So then when you fly around and do that, and then you drop it, you can find it.
Right.
Yeah.
But all in all, this is a fun entrance in the Dracula War and Vampire War. Jerry, what's his name? I can never remember. Chris Sarandon. He's fantastic. He's so good. He's the perfect kind of person for that because he is traditionally handsome. And that's kind of like where you lean into the, you know, how could he lure people in? The whole thing with Nosferatu is just weird because he's so gross looking. Like at one point,
Unless you're into that.
unless you're necrophilia, that's the maybe it's
Or rat fetish.
Not one forever.
They're really.
He looked like a shaved version of Splinter. Splinter. God, English is hard. But
Tell me about
I really enjoy this movie. It's a lot of fun. I'll do it.
I have a humble brag.
Yes.
When I was in Los Angeles, I actually had the privilege of saw Fright Night on a big screen at the New Beverly Theater, which is one of the theaters in town that's owned by Tarantino. And every theater that Tarantino owns, every film that you watch there is 35 millimeter or 16 millimeter print. So I got to see the original 35 millimeter for the Fright Night, and in addition to that, in attendance that very evening, director Tom Holland and several of the cast. I don't remember Chris Sarandon being there, but Amy was there and Charlie was there.
Mhm.
Yes.
Darcy.
Well, it's just that was one of the highlights of the
I met Chris Sarandon a couple cons ago, and he was super nice. Like he's kind of Fright Night still, but like he was very nice. I don't know, like he's kind of on a pedestal, I think, from a distance, right? Like you don't know if he'd be cool or not, but like just watch him interact with people, and then with me, like he's fantastic.
Where's the one to ask him?
So this movie is a prequel to Married with Children, right?
Right.
So Al Bundy comes later after Charlie. Yeah.
And then in real life, I guess this whole vampire thing just made her go gluten instead of.
Yeah.
These boys, these high school boys aren't worth all the vampires.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you definitely know better than was Roddy McDowell the first choice for Peter Vincent? Because weren't they trying to actually get?
I want
They were
to
trying to get Peter Cushing or one
Yeah.
of those old horror people.
Yeah, or Vincent
Vincent
Price or
Price.
somebody like that.
makes sense. I think they were, but it's probably just a difficult
I think it
cast.
was like a third or fourth.
Well, because I mean, obviously, Roddy McDowell was great, but Roddy didn't. He wasn't in. I think he was in an Amicus film once.
Yeah.
He was mostly known for playing in Planet of Apes movies.
Right, that was his big claim to fame. But like as far as he definitely wasn't in a Hammer film that I can recall.
I don't-
I'm 90. Well, he wasn't in an episode of Night Gallery. So I think Night Gallery and maybe an Amicus film. But that's really the only.
Was he one of those anthologies?
He was.
Yeah.
I can't place which one. We're just having a discussion about
I
that.
love that.
I do too. I love the
Some
Amicus
of my
movies,
favorites.
but the seconds kind of run together a little
They
bit
do.
for me. So I can't remember if he was actually in one or not. But that was really the only play to like classic horror or like the more traditional type of horror film that he had to.
But he had the aura and he had the
Yeah, no, and that doesn't.
voice.
You're right. Obviously, it doesn't matter at the end. It's like I think it's difficult to see anybody else.
Yeah.
playing that. I mean, other than
And how did one of the OG characters play really a good homage that's an amalgamation that they're a part of, supposed to be represented in that amalgamation in the first place? Yeah.
although I think
Is that where the name comes from? Peter Fishing and Vincent Price?
Yeah.
Your nib showing again.
I do think
Yeah, I think so.
Because he had that same kind of tongue in cheek
Well,
vibe, especially back then.
have any of you seen House of the Long Knives?
Mm-mm.
House of the Long Shadow.
Excuse me, sorry, House of the Long Shadows.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, and you know what?
That
I'm
was out
talking
of print
about.
forever.
Oh, I bet.
They finally released it.
But you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, because especially towards the end where it's the big reveal, he's having that conversation with Christopher Lee when he walked on his way out of coffee under the bed and calls Christopher Lee a little bitch.
Vincent Price is very tough.
Yeah.
So I could see him pulling that off.
But by 85, he was pretty
It's Christopher Lee. I mean,
Christopher Lee.
Right. Christopher wasn't a great help either.
Christian.
He died. He was the
He
first
died
one to die.
early 90s.
No, yeah.
No, so did Vincent Price.
Price died, and then Peter Cushing died right after.
Yeah.
So I think Christopher Lee was like
Price died, I believe, in 93, and I think Cushing in 96.
It was either 94 or 96.
I don't know these people you're talking about. I know Peter Vincent.
Right.
Other people.
Was it not Vincent Rice? Vincent Rice, he's running back for the Ravens.
Oh, Vincent Wright. Yeah, absolutely.
The one true horror of
Yeah.
Peter Vincent.
Pete Vincent is.
But yeah, me and John were the ones that were the OG fanboys of this film. It's one of my favorites. It was probably a top 10. It's at least top 20.
Oh.
It's probably my top 3 vampire movies are probably The Bela Lugosi, 1931 Dracula, the 1958 Horror of Dracula. Yeah. Those are like my top 3. I don't think anything will ever replace The Bela Lugosi because it was one of the first horror films I ever watched. Nostalgia is, he was the one that created the whole gimmick. So I don't know if I can say anything that has been said really. It's great acted. Tom Holland is a great fighter, and the 80s was the peak of his talents.
And made a great Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He was a great Spider-Man.
He looked so beautiful.
Benjamin Button.
It's crazy.
So, I would love to see him. So not really.
A different kind of way.
Right.
I'm a weapon.
Anyway, and I love the film. I've always loved this film. The 2 big 80s vampire films, this Lost Boys for me. This always just had more of that old kind of hammer vampire thing. Very Dandridge. So I ever loved his name
Yeah.
because it reminds me of Jerry Dandridge. And I'm like, who wants a vampire with Dandridge? Although I guess you're hundreds of years old, you're not used to that shit. Maybe.
Well, some of it could just that's from the
That's true.
Some head and shoulders.
Head and shoulders.
that does happen.
Yeah. The scalp. Not paperwork.
It's hard to put head and shoulders on when you can't look at anything
That's
like
right.
a reflection to make sure you're actually applying it on correctly.
And virgin blood only goes.
Right.
It's better for the skin than hair.
It would be hilarious if Dracula had eczema and turned into a bat and was just like a poop of skin cells.
I'm sure he's had that.
Something I did notice I did want to bring up was a vampire bat. When he turns into a bat at the end and they're holding him back, he bites.
Yeah.
He bites, what's his name? Charlie.
Charlie.
And they don't acknowledge that. He bites him on the
Well,
arm.
what happens is if you kill the head vampire before sunrise,
All good in the hood.
He just never turned.
Yeah.
And I
But
don't
what at sunrise when he finally killed him? Because they used a whole lot of light, and I can't imagine that the sun was still on the
I
horizon.
took a little liberty there. I think
Sunrise on the west coast.
I think if you kill the head vampire, period, maybe that.
that's generally
Yeah.
and I don't know that I haven't been watching it. When he did in this mad, I think he was just
Yeah.
he actually like
Well, it takes a few bites when they're doing
yeah,
that
because you
to tell
gotta
the turn.
well, right, and even then like, you gotta really like it's a process.
Yeah, it's not just a nibble. You can't turn into a vampire just with a little nibble.
We need Mythbusters.
That's foreplay.
What is
Foreplay.
what we're doing?
We'll try it later. We'll try it. All right.
You can't just
Okay.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's try
I mean,
giant
it's-
veins.
It's hard to get blood just to get bile out of it.
But sometimes when you have a victim that their veins are too thick, it does become an issue.
It started on my veins every time I've been in the ER. It takes them forever. So
Yeah, so like you have
This
right.
sometimes that jugular it's just too thick. You gotta kind of look at the hands or the path.
Mhm.
Inside the eye, and that the Jim Carrey vampire one.
I was going to
Once bitten, yeah.
That one's that's a good movie.
for all the nostalgia y'all talk about, like this movie, and once it huge.
Yeah.
For me,
So, yeah.
I watched it every time it came on TV. It was so good. And Jim Carrey playing straight. Like,
Yeah.
he's not the comedian.
You want some ice cream?
Yeah.
that was like right after Earth Girls Are Easy, where he was just That was the early Jim Carrey days before he fell.
It also has like 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Outrageous.
It did not get respect.
What did Vampire's Kiss with Nick Cage?
1980 something, 88 or 87.
It was a-
I think it was 88. Yeah.
So I'd love to see your thoughts on that.
Have you seen that one?
I've never heard of
That's a Dollar Tree. I found it at Dollar Tree. Yeah.
It's
that
a,
one. You could get.
look,
Put the plastic vampire teeth. Yes.
whether you love
It's
you will never forget.
It is memorable.
It really,
It's Nicolas Cage unhinged. I mean,
it really is like,
he recites the alphabet.
yeah,
Voice in that movie. Anything he said.
right. It's like everyone in the
Oh,
cast,
something like this. This is where I talk and it's not ironic and I do it for 3 hours.
it's like everyone in the cast in that movie is
It's
in a
funny.
completely separate movie than what Nick Cage is.
yeah.
And I think that was, I think it was done on purpose.
There's a lot of
But it made
actors
honest.
like that.
God, pictures are hilarious.
Plastic. When he puts the plastic vampire teeth in, I was like, the best.
But it's but
He
it's one
runs
of
down
those,
the street saying,
yeah, that's it. Like, it's, I'm sure that it's one of those movies you either love it or you hate it. There's no middle ground.
Right.
So like I love it, but only because I choose to look at it as a dark comedy
Dark.
and not as like a serious one.
I don't know if it was intended to be.
It is what it is.
But
That's
it's-
just this is life. These are things we can't. It's just we have to accept things. We don't
This is afterlife.
Right.
I do find it interesting that Gary in movie is always willing to give Charlie a chance. Like he's not.
Why
does
doesn't
not-
he just want to
He doesn't want to just kill him. It's almost like he's having fun. Like even at that point where he's got him on he's choking him. Charlie would have just said, "Okay, I'll forget you." What he just
It's almost like he
You
sees
know?
a little bit of him in it.
right. There's some sort of weird thing there.
I do love
Yeah.
I do love the scene where he literally just, hey, as long as they're not in your house, and then as soon as he gets home, he's like, hey, I wish you were the neighbor.
See ya soon.
Let's do ratings.
I haven't even talked.
Oh, you have to smoke.
But basically, across the board, I think we knew coming in, we'd all be pretty close to what we thought. I did tell John, and I know this is blasphemous, and I understand that it's blasphemous. I saw the remake first. I like the remake better. Yeah, I like the remake better, and I watched them both back to back. The original is a classic, top 10 vampire films, 100%. I like Lost Boys a little bit better, but I have a better connection to that one. Watching the remake, like the cast is amazing. Like Anton Yelchin, rest in peace. Imogen Poots, David Tennant, Colin Farrell. Like you said, while it's a remake, Colin Farrell's just a creepier, sexier vampire, right? Like Colin Farrell out digging in the dirt in a sleeveless shirt is more attractive than Chris Sarandon, right? But it's acted so well, it's written so well. I just love the remake. But I don't want that to take away from the original. Yeah, that Invisible Man, like definitely probably 1A, 1B. But this one is still a great film. I think my biggest knock, which we've talked about, transformation of the mouth. Because he's so articulated throughout the entire film until he gets the giant, his mouth's full of teeth, like, brr, brr, like he just grunts. Like, I'm like, we can do a little bit better there. Nostalgia's there, and that's another reason why I don't hold it. Well, another reason I like the remake a little bit better is because that nostalgia's not there for me. Because I probably saw Fright Night in the last 25, 30 years for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that one first because, like, I've always been an Anton fan and Imogen Poots fan. Like, anything they did besides Black Christmas, sorry, Imogen, I know you're listening home. Your Black Christmas was terrible, but and who else is Dave Franco's in it? And Dave Franco reminds me, his friend in the original who gets hurt, he reminds me of Dave Franco a lot. But in the remake, it's McLovin,
Oh yeah, he's lit.
who's the friend. And David Tennant played that. I know we're not talking about the remake, but David Tennant was perfect in that role too. But it's a great film. I want to ask you, as far as horror films, where is it for you? Like, is it top 10 for you, horror film? Because I know since I've known you, Fright Night has been a movie you've referenced numerous times.
It's easily top 10. It's close with like when I think of vampire films, I think of the classics. But for me, it's Lost Boy, this, and Near Dark. And I would say Near Dark is real high on the list. I know a lot of people are either love it or hate it, but
That's one you wanted to come watch, and I'm like, I don't know if I like Nerd Dark or not.
if you
But
love
I've been
Bill
wrong
Paxton,
before.
yeah.
Yeah,
So this is definitely top 10 easily.
I agree. For me, both of them are probably top 10. That and the remake. But other than
vampires or top 10?
Vampire. We were talking on the way up here. Like, if you consider Jurassic Park a horror movie, that's my number one horror movie of the time because it's my favorite movie. And like it does have horror elements. Yeah. So, but other than that, everything, when you go last, usually everything's already picked apart unless I have a different opinion. In this case, I do not. I agree with what everyone's already said. It's a classic. It should be seen by everyone. If you're a horror fan, like I didn't start the intro by saying spoilers because if you watch the show, listen to the show, you should have already seen Fright Night at some point, unless you're on the opposite end of the table of me. But anyways, do a rating now that I can set up. Also, we didn't even mention we're recording this today, but we had an earthquake this morning, which was pretty nuts in Alcoa, fucking Tennessee. 4.1 magnitude earthquake. Kelan and I were in the same room, same hotel room. I was in the bedroom with the door shut. He was on the block couch. And I swear someone was under my bed kicking, and someone was in the room next door banging. And I look out the door, and he's looking at me like, what was it? Yeah, so what a day for an earthquake. But yeah, I just wanted to share that over here. Also, wrote, he sounded like Sloth from Goonies when he had the mouth. Hey, you guys, I'm gonna get you. I also agree with Kelan about the club scene. It was unnecessary. It had to be an ego thing. Being 400 years old, however old he is, yeah, he's got that megalomaniac vibe going anyway. So, yeah, I can't disagree with anything that's been said. So we can go around and give our rankings count. You will also be included with this. I gave it a 3.5. I gave the remake a 4. Sorry. My biggest knock on the remake is what we were talking was just the effects because it's not as practical at the end. But when you say why they kill him at the end, it's genius. That's pretty cool. I won't spoil that. Kelan still hasn't seen it. So, but I gave it a 3.5.
I would say so. I will say for Fright Night, the sequel, Fright Night 2 from 1988, is a really good film as well. It's directed by Tommy Wallace. It's really fun. It's an interesting kind of companion to the first one. It's not as good, but I like it. The remake, I like, and the interesting thing about the remake is that Jerry in the movie, they do CGI for some of the makeup. However, they do practical makeup for him in that movie too. And there's a scene where he attacks someone in a car, and the makeup they use is fucking terrifying.
Is that the one where he attacks for Sarandon?
That is great makeup they use. I don't know why they didn't do that the whole movie.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say, watching it again, I've got to go with a 4.5. It's almost a 5 for me, but I will have to take off 0.5 just for some of the quirky shit, the dance in the club and her hair's getting turned. I will take off a little for that. So
that's the biggest shit.
Yeah.
Count.
I do.
Any vampire movies a 5?
No. I know. Mario Argento's Dracula.
Oh, that one hurt me so bad.
I think the three actually made it worse.
It did. The mantis, what was happening? What was going on?
3D and boobs enhance the quality of a movie. This did not make things a lot worse. It was really weird that the dude had his daughter in the nude scene in the movie. It's like, what are you doing about it?
I hate doing that.
I know.
I think Asia will probably want to do it herself in these days, anyways.
But anyway, this is definitely top 5 best vampire movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be high up there on the list of horror films in general.
I'm curious what's your top 3 or 5 vampires?
Well, so Dracula 31 is up there because, like I said, Bela Lugosi, handsome son of a bitch. There's no better actor that did a better version of me He did. He
So you're giving.
He did. He totally did. But you know what? I can't blame him. It's just he plays me better than I play myself. So I would say that Fright Night. Yeah. I don't know if I put it number 2, but definitely in 5. So the thing is, it's hard for me to pick which of my favorite horror Dracula movies there is, but I would say my personal favorite is Dracula is Risen. That's my favorite Christopher Lee Dracula. Not that's not to say
Hanging out
Right.
at the bell of the church.
like that's not to say that I think like horror Dracula is I think it's great. It's just for me that's just a personal favorite because
That's a very favorite film like that.
well, I have a crush on Veronica Falls. That's a big that's also a
Still?
big thing. Well,
No, so maybe you're tired.
Beauty, she might be single. See that one, and then I really like. Oh, I gotta think. I really gotta think about the other two.
It'd be Blood Rain, right?
Blood Rain is definitely up there, top 10. Well, you think on that. We'll give the rest of the rankings, and we'll come back and
Actually, real quick, Return of the Vampire.
Okay.
I just followed the midnight movie.
Yeah, it's a solid vampire movie that I feel like really gets lost in the shuffle. Go see. I mean, I know he's based on Dracula, but he's not really. But this was but this was one of his finest performances, I think.
Twilight's pretty good too.
And then another. I don't know. Would you count Abbott and Costello and Frankenstein?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you? Okay. Well, then I would definitely. Dracula 31 and Abbott and Costello.
It's the only time he plays actual Dracula.
Those are my. That's like number 1 and number 2 favorite films of all time.
I think that's the OG horror comedy.
Yeah, it is. So I would say I would put Friday Night in there, and then Return of the Mac. Those are my personal top 5 favorites. I don't know if anyone would agree that they're the greatest, but I don't care what you think. So go ahead, TJ.
I already told my top 3. Friday Night for me. You know, just off nostalgia and how many times I watched this on the Encore Video channel, it was nothing better to watch, and I just loved it. Second, my DNA as a preteen and teenager. I'm going to give it a 5. I love this movie.
Holy shit! I'm very lower than everyone else.
You can go back and edit your rating if you need to.
No, that's a nostalgia bias. I know. But, I mean,
That's okay, because I think I give the faculty a 5. The faculty's not a 5-star. It's,
this is one of the most prototypical essential 80s movies. It's one of the best horror comedies. It's one of the best vampire movies. It's just top tier on so many little sub-genre levels. It's endlessly rewatchable. I wish they would do a sequel to it proper, like they've been trying to get going for 40 years. As long as Tom Holland's alive, there's still a chance. Tom Holland, make it happen.
But we shooting better.
Yeah.
As far as my rating, I'm not going to feel the favorite. I don't have nostalgia for it again. Most of mine were movies that came on Channel 30, UPN 30, or USA Midday Matinees. Which was, yeah, I said, whatever it used to be, 30. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think you can even use this as like an introductory to vampire films. Because it's kind of easy to get into. I'm always a sucker for practical effects, even though I love this kind of movie and things that I just appreciate the work that goes into that. It's really easy to map something like a computer and stuff in there. It's really fun for special effects and things. I think the ones this one for that you it did rely on more stages, a lot of them dynamic about.
That's how things are now for tape. When you just have to shock the world, or you don't make a good film. Right? Do you want to go to a 5?
I'm gonna say 4.5. I just want to say real quick, I just want to shout out to Encore. Yeah, I love you. I miss you. I don't know where you are, but
Please come back.
on in the 90s.
So that puts us at 4.3. Well, 4 Fright Night. That's about
5 and up round.
4.3 round of 4.5. That's fair. Yeah, we'll do that. 4.5. Because I might have to give it a 5. But even 4.5, even 3, all deserving. Even if it was a 5, it's deserving. It's a great film. So all right. That's it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram, join our group on Facebook, follow us on TikTok. We have an Amazon Music playlist featuring music. Some of this music from this music can be on there. Yeah, and come back next week, see what we got going on. Thanks to Frankencon and their crew for letting us hang out again. We always have a good time here. So yeah, hopefully we'll be back next year doing the same thing. So signing off, I'm Jay with John, Kelan, TJ, and Count Drahoon. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.